Welcome to another episode of Hi exclusive right here on Hi TV, your luxury channel. Today I'm speaking to someone who has celebrated her Sri Lankan roots all the way to her now adopted country and also contributed so much towards Sri Lanka. She's a lawyer, she's also into politics and so much more. I'm very, very happy to have Cristina, correct?
Yes, that's right.
But there's a first name as well.
Yes.
Which is?
Githmy.
Githmy, which is quite a different name. All right, Githmy, thank you so very much for joining us. So how are you known, Githmy or Cristina?
I'm known by Cristina.
Okay, that's easy.
That's easy, yes.
Yeah, Githmy is a bit of a mouthful. All right, so you're here on a very short stay in Sri Lanka and you've come here after 5 long years. So tell me about what brought you here this time around.
Yes, I mean, I left this country in 2019. And so in 5 years' time, so much happened. And then for, let's say, for professional reasons, I came here.
Right, that's amazing. Yeah. Now, you are someone who is championing this thing called Passionate Hand. It's a non-profit organization.
Yes.
Tell me about Passionate Hand.
Passionate Hand is a non-profit organization that I found when I was 25. And so the reason for the birth of Passionate Hand is to restore the light where there's darkness. This is the main reason of it.
But why did you take this path? Like, when there are so many things that you could do with your time, this was a calling for you. Tell me why. Why did you feel that it was needed?
Because if I don't do it, there's no one to do it. And I believe that the world right now, with as a lawyer and as a political activist, and also as a teacher, because that was my very first profession, I see a lot of darkness. I think that's the right word. A lot of darkness in the world, and I believe that when I work with politicians and various non-governmental organizations, civil societies, I do see that a lot of decisions are made for one's own interest, and so I thought I must do something about it, and I thought I must create, an organization which can bring and restore light where there's darkness in the world, and that's
amazing.
Why.
So, in terms of the projects that you all do, what are the more recent projects that you can talk about?
Well, okay. So, first, we started in Italy. So the main branch is in Italy, Milano, and we have been dealing with a lot of refugees. Europe right now has a big problem with mass migration. So, for example, in Italy, last year, Istat, estimated that 157,000 migrants crossed the border. So these refugees come mainly from the central, Mediterranean, so that is Africa, and all of them, come to Tripoli, which is the hub in Libya, and then cross, cross the borders towards the Western countries. And these refugees, in many ways, when they take up these precarious journeys, many die on their way, and many, once they come to the land, let's say mentally, psychologically,
they're drained.
Exactly, and so we, as Passionate Hand, we try to, restore, let's say, hope in them, build up their self-esteem, and also as a legal, consultant, I give them legal aid assistance, and
knowing what their rights are,
exactly.
Even though they're going through such a traumatic experience.
Exactly. So we provide legal assistance. Yes, that's right.
So, is there anything that's happening here in Sri Lanka with under the same umbrella?
Well, okay. So also I would like to talk about Sri Lankans who migrate to Europe. Yeah. A lot of Sri Lankans come from the Western, let's say so we have 3 routes to enter to Europe: the Western Balkans, Eastern Europe, and the Central Mediterranean. A lot come from the eastern part. So that is Romania, Bulgaria, all these countries. And a lot of girls who come from the eastern side, they get sex trafficked, so smuggled, and a lot of young minors end up in illicit activities, like drug smuggling and all these things.
And these are things that we don't know about.
Exactly. And these things are not spoken much. And in Italy, I work with a lot of immigrants, and we try to bring awareness about these issues. And I was so, let's say, so upset that in Sri Lanka, the government is not talking much about these things. And the trade relationships between Italy and Sri Lanka are quite low. And so these things must be spoken about, and because every life matters.
Yeah.
Right?
So your project is based in Italy because you are Italian now,
Yeah.
and so you help the Sri Lankans as well who have either been given the wrong advice or who have been given the wrong path to coming to the country. So that's another way of saving lives in so many ways in one. Is this something that you still see in 2024 at a big level?
Oh yes, definitely. Even in the years to come, it'll happen. June 6th is going to be a very decisive moment for Europeans because we are going to have the European Parliament elections, and the polls say that a lot of right-wing parties will take up the majority. If so, migration is going to be, let's say there's going to be a reform in the Dublin law, which I believe should happen right now, and so it's going to be quite difficult for people to cross the borders.
Brilliant. We're going to get into a break. We'll come back with more on Hi Exclusive, especially about her legal practice after this. Welcome back to the show, and this is Hi Exclusive. We're speaking to a young, very focused person, which is a nice way of saying it. So how was your life here in Sri Lanka before you sort of took your journey to Italy?
My life here was, I would say, wonderful, actually. And I was born in Milan, but my let's say secondary education was done here, and I went to a wonderful private Catholic school called St. Nicholas International, and my time here was very, very good, and I had some amazing people around me, and I think actually I learned so much. I was molded into a more disciplined person, and when I embarked, when I went back to Europe, I saw that the roots that were instilled in me, the cultural values, these things helped me.
Yeah.
Exactly, helped me a lot.
Yeah, we can be a bit strict, but we're strict in a good way.
In a very good way,
Yeah.
yes, very good way.
Have to ask you now, this getting into the legal practice, what interested you in law?
Actually, my plan from very early on in life was to become, the foreign minister of a country.
Oh.
Yes, to become a diplomat, because I always believed in the importance of relationships between nations. Because I know it, the growth of a nation is based upon the relationships it has with, which it has in the global stage. And unfortunately, Sri Lanka is not doing much, is not doing enough, when it comes to its relationships between different nations. So when I was young, I saw that it's very important. And my idol from very early on was Sirimao Bandaranaike. And I saw how she took Sri Lanka to the next level, how she stood as a mediator between different nations. So I think, that was one reason. And to go there, I knew that I had to do law. And it was my mom who pushed me as well. And so I graduated from University of London, did my LLB, and my master's, which was done by it was a very particular master's that I got from the United Nations in Italy. And then I started my journey in human rights.
Right, amazing. Now, your passion for politics. Let me first start with a question based here in Sri Lanka. Talking about the late Sri Mavo, her legacy as the first female prime minister and all of that is still spoken about.
Exactly.
But we have not progressed from there. Still, we have such minority representation in the government sectors and also especially in the big house, the parliament. How do you see Sri Lanka's political stand for women?
That's a very interesting question. And, I see it from an European lens, because I was a person who lived here, but my profession was in Europe.
And your viewpoint is?
Yes, global. And I think there's a lot to do here in this country. Women representation is very low. Not only women, but also youth representation here in the country. I was quite, shocked when I saw the numbers. And so there's a lot to do. A lot of improvement must be done. And I think communication is not enough in this country. People are not being, made aware about certain topics, and mainly the media is not talking much. And I'm happy that you are a representative of the, let's say, of my generation, and you speak about these things.
Do you think Sri Lanka is ready to see a 34-year-old prime minister who is openly gay, like how it is in France today?
Yeah, that was actually, for a lot of, let's say, European countries, that came as a shock. It was quite a shock, also for me. So, well, I would say for Sri Lanka, right now, let's talk about the current position with the, legal framework. I don't think so.
Right.
But in the long term, perhaps,
Changes
could happen. Yes.
Now, tell me about your ambition in politics. It's not exactly the most fun place to be. Although people think, oh, politics is interesting if you want to do it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But when you want to do it the right way, it's definitely you are the servant of the nation. How is it for you?
Well, first of all, when you talk about politics, we should get rid of the label that it's bad. Politics is not bad. Corruption does exist. And yes, in every, if you take Europe, Europe, Italy especially, we had the mafia. It's, of course. And, the 20th century was full of corruption. 2 world wars, the Cold War, there was so much happening in Europe. And, but, all of, notwithstanding the fact still, Europe was able to, grow stronger, more united. So through the leadership of Robert Schuman, the European Union came into place and things progressed. And today, corruption rate is very low. The mafia is, well, let's say, it's not existing in Italy. Well, not to that extent it did in the early 70s. So let's say, so we should get rid of the label that it's bad. Politics is important. Now, when I was starting my legal consultant, profession, I did realize that I had to learn more. I was just, let's say, framed into one box. So I felt I should know more about people. So I'm not going to just sit down, make documentations and just go to the UN and, no, I just wanted to, be with people and realize what their issues were. And then, I was the youngest candidate to represent the immigrants in Milano. And I represented all the immigrants, Latin Americans, Muslims, so on. And I saw what their issues were, especially of our Sri Lankans. And I saw that how negligent they were, and politics is really important for the youth. They should know about this. Schools should teach about this, Danu. They should do this.
That is true. And also, we are seeing a very drastic brain drain in our country.
Exactly.
We are losing a lot of people who can add so much more to our, what can I say, our income, value to our rupee. What is your task? What is your take on this?
Human mobility was something that was there from, from centuries.
Yeah.
And it's not something that in the future, it's not that it will disappear. It will, continue. Especially third world country, citizens will definitely go to, developed nations. It's normal. But, what the government should do is this. The government should be wise enough, to protect its youth, to protect its, let's say, the well-educated people. So how can it do it? They should provide, job opportunities, right? And also promote, let's say, their talents, which in this country they don't do much. So it's actually, there's a lot the government can do if the government thinks creatively, like they did in Singapore, right? And a lot of other countries in the world that still, that are doing well actually.
Investing on the youth.
Exactly, investing.
Interesting points to think about. We're getting into a break. We'll come back with our final segment. Do stick around. This is Hi Exclusive. Welcome back to the show. This is Hi Exclusive. We are speaking to Cristina all the way from Italy, and she's here on a very short break. She has watched my shows since you were, what, 10?
The first one was, so I'll tell you the story. So now I was sitting in, at my place, and I was now, during that time period, it was the boom for American talk shows. You remember we had Ellen and all these famous people. And I thought, so I wanted to see someone, in our country, in our island, who could do, who was trying to promote that same, standard. And I sat and I just typed it in YouTube, and there buzzed your video. I think you were interviewing some famous figure, and I saw the way you did that program, and I thought, and I was very happy, and I thought this person will take this into a next level, and here we are.
Thank you. So humbled. This in 2004 or 5, if I'm
Really?
correct. Yeah.
But I saw it in
No,
2011.
sorry, 2015. Not so long.
Okay, then
Yeah.
somewhere long time
That's
back.
more
yeah.
relatable. Thank you for being so, for trusting. You have started something called Messiah. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So Messiah is an educational institution that I founded last year, and so we are working on various projects, finding innovative solutions in the educational sector. There's a very important thing that, project that we are going to work on, and that I'm doing with the Holy Catholic Church. I am a staunch, Catholic. I'm a Catholic, and so I believe a human should always have a very strong belief system and a principled, disciplined life. So I have, one thing I noticed in this course of time is that today education has become more of an enterprise for generating revenue. Now this is called, these are called secular schools. Now secular schools, what they do is, so they build up good private institutions with the objective of generating revenue, profit making, basically. So it's not about the child's quality education anymore. Not about giving them the right values or a belief system, moral principles, no. When you and I went to school, we knew that the head was, or the person who commanded the school was the principal. Yeah. Right now it's the CEO. So the entire landscape of education has changed. So it is different now. So what we are doing at Messiah is we have collaborated with the Franciscan congregation, Franciscan friars, and because they were thought to be the best educated since the 14th century, and so we are going to start private schools.
Right.
In Europe, and also we are going to expand it to other continents, because education is vital, but you have to give also the right education and instill in children the right values and principles. So that can only happen if you give the administrative body to let's say a religious organization. So, and I'm thoroughly against this secular education system because I see the danger it does for children. Free thinking is not good, right? In the long run, we will head towards destruction, definitely.
I'm actually very curious to know who instilled this type of thinking in you.
So, I went to a Catholic school. So I saw how the school shaped me. And I saw that, the way I was brought up, the principles, also, my mother has, I must give credit to my mother, my wonderful mother. She, from very early on, she taught me to, she was saying me, you should always, when you look at a human, what you should do is you have to bring happiness into their face. So she was like my role model. She changed the way I see things completely differently. Also my wonderful school. And I saw when I went to Europe, how that helped me. I think if I achieved something in life, if I have, I do not know, I think it has a lot to do with my family, the way my parents brought me up and my education.
Have you, people say slow down. Has anyone asked you to slow down? Because I think your mind, your hands are all full. How do you manage everything?
So I have my mom. So she's the one who coordinates everything. And I get a lot of support from my family, actually, from my brother. I don't usually slow down. I should cease to exist to give up. I don't give up. I believe that, if I have got a life, it should be a life of purpose, and I should do the best, I should make use of it for the betterment of humanity, to bring, let's say, light, prosperity in the lives of humans. So if I stop, then it's not an option, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
So Cristina, in another 10 years, what would she be doing?
I actually have not, I'm not a human who actually, for example, when I was in my 20s, I never planned.
You are still in your 20s.
Yeah, I mean 20s as in like
Early
early
20s.
20s. Yeah. In my early 20s, I never planned things. Politics came unexpectedly. I just do it, and then I see, for example, Messiah was also something that came unexpectedly. Or also the foundation. So once I put my feet onto something, when I walk, I see that there is something, there's a gap that I should fill, and then I do that.
Work towards it.
To work towards it.
It's absolutely remarkable that, Cristina, that you are so willing to do so many things and be an instrument of change, and it's beautiful. I must say thank you so very much for all what you do, and wherever you are, what part of the world, if you're contributing towards the well-being of a community, a society, it's always wonderful. I wish you only the best, and thank you for being such an inspiration to the youngsters who might take a 26-year-old. She's still a little girl, but she's far from it. You have done amazing things, and I'm very, very proud of you, and I wish you only the best.
Thank you, Danu. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Well, on that note, we need to wrap things up. Do follow her. She is available on all social handles, and her work can be seen on LinkedIn and Facebook and everything. If you can contribute in any way or even ask questions prior to any type of legal advice that you might need, you could always reach out to the organization as well. On that note, we need to wrap things up. Thank you so very much for joining us on another episode of Hi Exclusive. We'll see you soon.